Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is Sarah Halevi, Director of Communications for Energiya Global. Sarah, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell our viewers a little about what is Energiya Global.
Energiya Global is an Israeli company that develops commercial scale, utility scale solar fields in underserved populations in developing nations. Our main focus is Africa. And we also have some projects we're developing the island nations and here in the neighborhood, which is still confidential and in the early stages, but mostly 80 to 90% of our work will be in Africa.
Well, we're known as a startup nation. We come up with technologies. Every other day there's probably a company sold. What makes your technology ahead of the class?
It's an excellent question. The technology itself is not unique. We build PV photovoltaic solar fields, commercial scale solar fields, which are used all over the world. And they're in California and Nevada, you can see a great number of them. Here in Israel, we have a highly developed commercial solar industry, founded by the same entrepreneurs who also founded Energiya Global. What's unique about us is that we have an additional message that we bring with our work, in that we have what we like to call the quadruple bottom line. We have a for-profit model, and so we make money for our investors, our shareholders, and it's a very profitable endeavor. In addition to that, we have the obvious environmental impact of what we're doing, clean, renewable energy in places that are using the dirtiest and most expensive fuels, diesel, and just tragic implications for the planet. And then we have a humanitarian benefit in that we're serving populations that don't have adequate food, water, healthcare, literacy. All of these things depend on a steady stream of electricity, which we aren't really used to thinking of in that way. And it's good for Israel to be bringing what we know how to do best, the startup nation, the cutting edge of everything, to places that really need it, where we can really make a difference in the world.
Israel always tries to be a light onto the nations. Your company did something pretty remarkable in Rwanda recently. Tell us a little bit about that.
Our first project to close is in an 8.5 megawatt commercial scale solar field in Rwanda. It's outside of the capital of Kigali. We started in Rwanda really because 20 years after the genocide, we wanted to do something. The CEO, Yosef Abramowitz, was very connected to the idea of working in Rwanda. And he connected with a woman whose name is Anne Heyman, and she passed away recently, very tragically, in an accident. She founded, outside of Kigali, a youth village called the Agahoza Shalom Youth Village. It was based on an Israeli model of youth villages that were built to take care of orphans following the Holocaust here in Israel. She came and studied that model, and she created a youth village in Rwanda to care for the orphans of Rwanda. And we then partnered with them. We have built this field. It will, with God's help, be ready to go to interconnection in the end of the summer. It's very, very exciting. On the grounds of the orphanage, they rent the land to us. So they have a steady income stream from the lease agreement for 25 years. And the people of Rwanda have an increase of 8% of their generation capacity. We'll be connected to the national grid. So it is a very unique project. We are the first commercial scale solar field in Eastern and Sub-Saharan Africa. Outside of South Africa, we're the first.
This model of generating profits yet helping the indigenous community, is this something that is financially stable?
Also an interesting question. The financing is very complex for these projects. This project in Rwanda is financed by FMO and Norfund and the U.S. government, OPIC, the Overseas Private Investment Corp. This is a stable and profitable model because the scale is so big and there's such a diverse portfolio. So in the long term, yes, it's profitable.
You know, something interesting was that the chairman of the company actually ran for president. Yosef Abramovich ran for the president of Israel. How do you see that impact in Israeli society as a business leader running for president?
Yes, it's an interesting idea. Yosef was the first independent candidate ever to run for president in Israel. I think that it can only be a good thing in terms of brand equity, that Israel has trouble managing its reputation abroad, as you might have noticed from the whole BDS movement and what we've seen just recently in the UN. And so the more good we can do in the world, the better it is for Israel. And Yosef, as president, who speaks very clearly about not just renewable energy, but also religious diversity and things that will make our nation stronger, will create a stronger brand for the state of Israel.
Sarah, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
The message that I would like to give is that, speaking from the startup nation, Israel has been a leader in innovation in everything from inventing the cell phone technology to Rummikub to now what could be revolutionary cures for cancer and preventative vaccines. The list is endless. And my message is, and our company's message is, that it's not enough just to invent the next cool thing, that we need to take all of our innovative energy and use it to make the world better. And we are so capable of that if we can keep that in mind. And I think that is the best way to serve God and to serve the world in general, is to use the gifts that we have, that we're endowed with, for good.
Thank you, Sarah, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.